Morning! We're in the lovely village of Brockenhurst today, in the middle of the New Forest. I made an earlier video of a walk around Brockenhurst during COVID, between lockdowns. This clip of that video shows people enjoying themselves in the Lymington River, pleased to be allowed out. There's a link to that video in the text below. In this video we'll take a different walk around Brockenhurst and see some of the places that we saw last time and some new ones. We're starting at the same place as the last walk, at the imposing Barmer Lawn Hotel. Here's the cricket pitch in front of the hotel. Today, this is a thriving country house hotel. During World War II it was commandeered by the army. Winston Churchill and Dwight Eisenhower were frequent visitors, and it's thought that some of the orders on the day of the D-Day invasion were issued from this hotel. We'll walk down the Lyndhurst Road now towards the centre of Brockenhurst. During World War I, Brockenhurst served as a hospital centre, chosen for its proximity to ports and railway connections. The Barmer Lawn Hotel was commandeered as a hospital for wounded soldiers, as was the Forest Park Hotel that we'll see later in the walk. Many of these wounded soldiers in 1914 and 1915 were Indian, specifically those from the Meerut and Lahore divisions of the Indian Army Corps. The road which runs between the two hotels was named Meerut Road in 1915 in honour of the Indian soldiers who were treated here. We'll come back to World War I later in the video. We're walking down Meerut Road now. The open forest is on our right, and we can see some of the famous New Forest ponies. These ponies are free to wander in the forest, including across the roads, so drivers need to be particularly cautious. There's one of this year's foals. There's been a habitation in this area for 4,000 years, since the Bronze Age. There are several burial mounds here, called tumuli. William the Conqueror created the New Forest as a vast royal hunting ground around 1079, about 13 years after the Norman king had beaten King Harold's forces at the Battle of Hastings and forced the existing Saxon landowners off their land. The Domesday Book of 1086 mentions the village of Broceste or Broceste, which is what we know now as Brockenhurst. Up ahead on our left we can see some ponies standing in the road. This is known locally as the New Forest traffic jam. The ponies, of course, have the right of way. We'll turn up Rhinefield Road now. If we carried on up this road for a few miles we come to Ornamental Drive, which is known for its redwood pine trees and rhododendrons which flower in the spring. If you do drive along there though, be careful of the holes in the tarmac at the sides of the road. Just saying. Earlier I mentioned the Forest Park Hotel. This is the other hotel which was commandeered as a hospital in World War I, and it's coming up here on the left. Like the Barmer Lawn Hotel, in the early years of World War I, wounded Indian soldiers were treated here. Both hospitals had about 200 beds each. Later in the war, wounded New Zealand soldiers were treated in Brockenhurst, and we'll see more of that later. We'll turn around here and walk back along Lyndhurst Road. Along here we'll come to St Anne's Catholic Church, opened in 1939. This is part of the Catholic Diocese of Portsmouth. The church is a modern example of the Romanesque style with plain brick walls and a parquet floor. The window behind the altar commemorates the three mothers connected with St Anne's. St Anne with Mary, Mary with Jesus, and Elizabeth with John the Baptist. Here's some more ponies at the side of the road. It's a very mature plant growing up the side of that house. I think it's wisteria. If it is, that'll need some pruning. Further along this road we come to St Saviour's Church, which was originally a private chapel for the owners of nearby Rhinefield House, Lieutenant Commander and Mrs E.L. Walker Munro. A very impressive private chapel. St Saviour's was started in 1895 and is a remarkable example of late Victorian Gothic architecture. As the work progressed, the expense became too much and building work was stopped until 1903. A temporary wall was erected at the west end. The church was opened for worship in 1905. Through the generosity of the Walker Munro's four grandsons, work on the west end was resumed in 1960, and the church as we see it today was completed in 1961. We can't go inside as there's something going on, but we'll just have a quick look through the doorway. Coming back to the road, we see a perfect example of a New Forest traffic jam. As I said earlier, the ponies have right of way. We're now at the end of Brookley Road, the main centre of the village. The ford here is just a trickle today, but can be quite a force in the winter. Brockenhurst is the largest village in the New Forest, with about 3,500 inhabitants, and it's situated pretty much in the centre of the forest. The village has two small supermarkets, a Tesco Express and a Co-op, and usually the village also has a very good range of traditional shops. There's a hardware store, a florist, a chemist, a pet shop, a health food shop, a greengrocer's, fishmonger's, newsagent, a butcher's, a baker and several more. You'll also find Chinese and Indian restaurants, a great range of local businesses. Continuing up the road, this is the thatched cottage, hotel and restaurant. And this is the Forester's Arms. We'll turn down here and walk to the end, where we'll see the Snake Catcher pub. This is named after a local snake catcher, Broceste Mills, who frequented the pub in the late 1800s until his death in 1905. Broceste Mills lived as a hermit and caught snakes for a living, ridding local properties of snakes. He's thought to have caught around 40,000 snakes in his lifetime. He sold some of these to London Zoo as food for the birds of prey and snake-eating snakes. Some also went for medical research. He became a national celebrity, and people came to the New Forest to have their picture taken with him. He regularly attended cricket matches at the cricket pitch in front of the Balmerlawn Hotel that we saw earlier. He was paid to sweep the pitch between innings, and that's how he got his nickname, Broceste. His real name was Henry. We'll walk up now towards the railway crossing. Past the Albero restaurant, the crossing gates are closed. The railway arrived at Brockenhurst in 1847. This is the main line between Weymouth on the Dorset coast and London Waterloo. This train's on its way to London. Weymouth that way, and London that way. We'll cross over the railway tracks and make our way up to the parish church of St Nicholas. This is the oldest church in the New Forest and the only remaining church in the New Forest that's mentioned in the Domesday Book. There's a war grave cemetery here, beautifully tended as you would expect. From 1916 onwards, wounded New Zealand servicemen were treated in the field hospital that was established here. As well as the hotels that we saw earlier, the main hospital was near the church. It was known locally as Tin Town. Auckland Avenue and Auckland Place in Brockenhurst were named in honour of the New Zealand soldiers. Inevitably, some of the injured soldiers died. 106 of these are buried in this war grave, mostly New Zealanders. 3 of the graves are Indians. The reason that there aren't more Indian graves is that Indian bodies were cremated in the traditional manner. Broceste Mills of snake catcher fame is also buried in the churchyard here, with a marble headstone, paid for by local people. We'll walk up to the church now. This is originally a Norman church, but it was enlarged by the Victorians. The south doorway here is a fine example of Norman work with chevron mouldings. Nice to see traditional wooden pews. One corner of the church is dedicated to the part that Brockenhurst played in World War I. We'll go back outside now and end our walk around Brockenhurst with a visit to what is almost certainly the village's oldest inhabitant. This is the great yew tree. Its girth was measured at 15 feet in 1793. Now it's more than 20 feet. Some of the branches reach out to a distance of 30 feet. This tree is over 1,000 years old. There was a church here when William the Conqueror established the New Forest around 1079, and this tree was already here in the original churchyard. I hope you found this video interesting. If you have, please give us a like or leave a comment, and consider subscribing to our channel on YouTube to see more walking videos on Walk with Rob. Thanks very much for watching.